that respond appropriately stay in the game. All others are grounded. Okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is the way that we're thinking about the situation itself. And Gary put it as wake up and pay attention. Wake up and pay attention. Now, these are new times. Would y'all agree with me? Say yes.
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 Yeah, well, yeah, there's, we've talked about a shift in the market, and we knew a shift would someday come. We didn't see it come in this way. I mean, this is something that's new for our entire country. And yet we're going to have to think differently. What's the number one cause of fear?
The unknown.
Lack of resources.
Well, it's the unknown. Like if you're driving down the road super fast in your car and there's a right-hand turn that you can't see what's around the bend, what do you do naturally?
Slow down.
Slow down. Okay? So everything we're going to do, we're going to have to change the way that we think because it's counterintuitive to what our natural programming is. Does that make sense? So we're going to have to wake up and pay attention to the market, pay attention to our models, pay attention. Are we acting entrepreneurially or purposefully? These are the things that we can control, is the way that we think. Guys, we can go back and we can look at all the news and all the things that are coming out, and there's so little control that we have over it. And yet we definitely control how we think. Would you agree with me?
Totally.
Okay, so I want you to write this down. This is a question that was asked, and I thought it was so powerful because it's going to go through everything that we talk about today. So I want to ask you to ask yourself this. Who do you want to be at the end of this? Who do you want to be at the end of this? Second question is, what are you going to be known for during this? Those are the questions that were asked of us as leaders, as coaches, as real estate agents, as market center owners. Who are we going to be coming out of this, and what are we going to be known for while we're in it? Does that make sense? So how do we get real and get right and pay attention? So what is something that you've already seen in the last 2 weeks that we didn't see a month ago? What have you noticed in the market? This is where you're going to communicate back.
People are reluctant to allow us to visit their homes.
Well, they're reluctant. And guys, I'm all over the country today. This is probably the 4th Zoom I've done. There's some places where they're not even allowed through their state to be in the home with somebody. Okay. So what we're noticing is that we're going to have a different model on how we show buyers and take listings. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So again, what else are we seeing out there?
No open houses.
No open houses. Now, I don't know in Tennessee, is that the rule there now that there's no open houses?
That's correct.
So we're going to have to be creative on how we do what? Share the homes with the market that is out there to buy, correct?
Yep.
Right.
Guys, when we wake up and pay attention and we see it through a different mindset, we're going to see the playing ground differently. What our clients want out there, this is what I woke up and pay attention to, is does our database need us more now than ever? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So they do. And here's the thing, not to sell them something, not to work on getting a listing, not to work on as a buyer. Gary says head down, heart up. They need it because there's fear out there of the unknown. There's fear out there of the unknown. Now, when we come from contribution, with the first question you ask somebody in your database is, hey, how are you doing? Is everybody healthy? then the question always comes back of, wait, hey, how is the market? And then you can talk about the market. We just got to make sure that we're paying attention to the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to read this second thing to you because this is big and we're going to spend a little more time there. Learn to live on less. So what is our mindset around our spending? Here's what Gary says. There's an old saying, a penny saved is a penny earned. This applies to dollars too. When a shift happens, it pays to understand that the first dollar you make is the dollar you don't spend. The way you do this is to lower your expenses. The real power of this pivot is realizing that reducing your expenses is not a one-time event. Cut expenses every month for the rest of the year. Make it a game. And don't forget to acknowledge and reward those who help. Now, how many of you have already started going through the process of really looking at your expenses?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have we done that in our business and personally?
Yep.
Do we have it planned to do every single month? Here's what I noticed, and tell me something, and I'd love to hear this. How many of us feel like we just got done sprinting for the last 14 days? We're kind of exhausted. We've called people. We've been going through our expenses. It's been just nonstop for 2 weeks. I'm going to take no answer as a yes. Well, here's the reality. And I think this is setting in. Do we understand that we're actually running a marathon? This isn't going to be quick and over. This is going to go on. Some places just got a stay at home through the end of May. Now, this isn't to put fear. It's really not. It's just to prepare us. I know that if you've ever watched a marathon, you always have that one group who wants to be on camera. So they take off that first quarter of a mile as fast as they can. And then about mile 12, they're gasping for air on the side of the road. We've got to be real careful and understand that this is going to be a marathon. So we're going to have to make sure that our mind is continuously focused on what can we cut. So I know that if you cut 20% or 30%, you're going to go, man, I am there. Next month, you need to go through and challenge yourself again. Where can I cut? Where can I cut? Where can I cut? Because in unknown times, it's very difficult to depend on revenue to produce profit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what are some of the things that you found? Like, tell me something interesting that you found that you were spending money on.
A lot of different subscriptions that you forget you have.
You know, it's so interesting. I had a CBS, the app that I paid for 4 years and had never opened. Now it's only $4.99 a month, and yet every month for 4 years.
Wow.
And that, and there were tons of little things like that when you start adding them up, they become substantial. What else? What was the biggest item that you got rid of?
I'm still working on that.
Well, and it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
It is. It is. And here's the cool thing, guys. When we cut expenses and really get down to the bare bones, that's our model as a company. I mean, if you go back and read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, if you read Shift, all of those things have always been the same. We want to run lean. We want to run lean. And all this is going to do is just cut the fat. So when the market does come back, your profitability should continue to rise. Does that make sense? Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So here's the other thing. And I think it's real important to understand that living on less is a mindset, though. And it's a mindset. When we talk about gamify it, and I love that Gary always brings that into it. If you're playing the game, well, what do I truly need? I mean, what is the return on the money that's being spent? And if you went through every single item and asked that question, and the only way that you could keep the item is if you had the positive response, do you think that would help?
Going to church.
What is your money returning to you? Are we good? Our third thing, and this is a big one, guys, because right now I want you to think this way. We want you to pay attention. We want you to pay attention to the market, pay attention to your mindset, pay attention to your activities. We want you to learn, have the mindset to learn to live off less. Okay? Here's the third one, and this is a big one. Double down on your leads. Let me tell you let me read what Gary wrote, and then I want us to discuss this, okay? Dig into your goals and determine how many leads you're going to need to achieve them. It is an absolute certainty that it will take more leads to accomplish your sales goals today than it did yesterday. This is why you double down. Now, double down, some people automatically think if I'm lead generating 2 hours, I'm going to go to 4 hours. And I want us to go back and look at the bold law that says this. It says that work fills the time allowed. So what if we got purposeful about our lead generation? What if we got purposeful about the way that we communicate and contact with our database? Do you think that we could get more efficient in the time that we're allowing? Yes or no?
Yes.
And remember, guys, these are care calls. First and foremost, you got to come from your heart. Yes?
Yes.
And yet we've got to do it. So let me give you an example. And I thought this was pretty powerful. I heard this on one of the shift calls that my friend James does. And normally we get in our touch with our database 4 times a year. Okay, 4. You do all the fingers there. 4 times a year. We use DTD2, which is the last names, if you split that up. And somebody was on the call yesterday and said, you know what? We're going to touch them twice in the next 90 days. And I started thinking about that. And here's the thing. It wasn't the fact we're not touching them twice to do anything besides come from contribution. Guys, people still need to buy and sell homes even in this market. They do. So we've got to be doing more to be in touch with our database. This is our market of the moment. And the work you do now will pay dividends for the rest of your real estate career. A matter of fact, I want you to write this quote down because I got it from this book I read called Atomic Habits. James Cleary wrote the book. And he says this, he says, every action is a vote on the type of person you wish to become. Every action is a vote on the type of person you wish to become. Every action is a vote on the type of person you wish to become. Now, I find that so powerful. If our goal is to be healthy at the end of this, then we're going to have to do what? Choose actions that person chooses. If ours is to be to thrive when the market rebounds, then we've got to be taking those actions of that person now. I want us to make no mistake about this. The mindset around lead generating and converting leads has got to be top priority. So if you run a team, then you're either getting back into that role or you are overseeing and responsible for that role. That's where our thoughts should be on a daily basis. How can I create more leads to gain more appointments? And again, we're doing this through care calls, though. You got to remember the moment is so important, yes?
Yes.
Our fourth one here, and this is important. It says lean into the market of the moment. Now, I want us to have the mindset around market of the moment. I'm going to read what Gary said. He said, to succeed in a market, you must understand it. No two markets are the same, which means a solution for one won't necessarily work for another. Take a step back, look around, and identify the opportunities your market has to offer. Every market will explain how you can best work in it and how people can best make it work for them. I'm going to read that last part one more time. Every market will explain how you can best work in it and how people can best make it work for them. Guys, the greatest amount of wealth in our country exchanges hands in shifting markets. The way that we think about this moment is going to impact not only yourselves, it impacts your clients, your families, your friends, your community, your city, and our country. That's the power of the moment, yes?
Yes.
Now, when we talk about lean into the market of the moment, I want to go back and just kind of share with you, our calls need to be what type of calls?
Contribution calls.
Care calls, contribution calls. I mean, imagine this, guys, and I know that you have, I'm sure you have. What do you think people out in because we know that we feel this, we have unknowns in our industry. Think about everybody else out there who has unknowns right now, who had plans and dreams, who are planning on moving this summer. Do you think that there's a place for us in their world? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. And the actions we take now is going to lead to the business in our future. And, you know, it was so funny. I was on a call earlier today, and we had an agent that's taken 3 listings this week, got 3 virtual listing appointments. He's going to do the listing appointments through Zoom. All 3 appointments came from care calls to their database. All 3 of them were referred. Was none of them, they referred them to somebody else. And all 3 started off with the same thing, which is I'm calling, basically asking one simple question. Hey, I'm just reaching out to see how you and your family are doing. Is everybody healthy? Is there anything that we can do for you? I mean, this is a very basic conversation. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So before we move on, give me something some takeaways so far. I want to make sure you're getting value out of this.
You know, lead generation cannot become any easier than at this present time.
I love, well, not only is it easy, to me, easier, I like that word. It's almost, I don't know about you guys. Do you feel closer now to some of the people in your office than you ever have before? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've been on Zoom calls so much that I feel like so connected in comparison where I really sometimes maybe haven't felt that connection. So what's really powerful about that is we're going to see that our community is at home. I mean, that most people around the country have a what? Don't leave the house, stay at home. And I think when you start making these calls, if you honestly are coming from contribution and you're coming from here, your heart, you're going to find out the conversations are going to be deeper. You're going to be able to find more information. You can, use forward and ask about their family, what's going on with their work. And then we're going to be able to continue to deepen that database. Does that make sense? So yeah, this is the greatest time to make a call because I can't guarantee you, most people are going to answer it and want to talk to you. I mean, you call me, I'll talk to you. That's the kind of time it is, yes? What else have we taken away? Well, I'll read some. It says we instantly have something to talk about with clients when we come from care. You're absolutely right. Takeaway so far, what do you want to be known for at the end of this? And that's a big one, guys. Do you want to be known in your database as the person that didn't reach out? No. Not at this time. Really, not at any time do you want to be that person, especially right now. I just think that it is absolutely one of the biggest opportunity to really dive into our database, to deepen the moat around your business. Make sense?
Sure does.
Okay. So when we talk about mindset, and we've gone through these 4 things, the question I have is, number one, how are we thinking differently now than we have in the past? And I want us to have an open communication. I mean, if we think with some fear, that's okay. Okay? But let's put it out. We're not recording this. We're not on Facebook. We are. The point of it is, though, is I want to ask you, what are we thinking? Because let me be transparent. My thoughts went all over the place over the last couple of weeks. I mean, you know, if you watch the news, if you've seen how this has grown, you see that people are being impacted with their life. You know, they're talking hundreds of thousands of people, and you know, there's a ton of thought to go out there. We always can't control that first thought. We absolutely can choose the second thought. And that's where we talk about our mind share, our mindset. That's where we got to be. And I love what James said. James says, if we get our mindset now, if we get it set right, if we follow this, we're going to create mind share when we get out of this. So we're going to go create mind share, which is in the end is going to lead to market share. Gary said in the I don't know if did you watch Gary and Jay when they did their first interview? We came into this big pivot move 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And you heard Gary said, we want to survive this so we can thrive after it. Remember, our company went from number 4 in the country to number 1 during the last shift. Everything he's doing is for us. It's for the agents, for the leaders. We're getting the model. And all we simply have to do is think and then take action. Think and then take action. I can tell you, though, if we don't shift our mindset, our mindset, the mindset a month ago isn't going to get us to where we need to be with the mindset that we have to have right now. So what questions do you have so far? You can make one up. You can ask about my workout schedule, whatever it is.
What comes to my mind is this is going to be the president. This is going to shift how we do business. It's no question.
Well, yeah, the habits we create now. Yeah, guys, we're learning to be more efficient right now. I mean, this is forced learning. Okay. So yeah, we're going to take these skills and habits that we develop now, and this is going to lead to in the future of our real estate business. Now, I'm not saying that we're never going to go show houses again. I'm not going to say that at all. I'm just saying that this is going to be a new way and a part of our business moving forward.
Well, it's going to help the consumer realize they can do the Zoom without looking at the house. And
Yeah, absolutely.
They can make the offer subject to a visual at the end.
Yeah, it's going to, we're never going to be the same. We're never going to be the same. And I go back and I love what Gary says. He says that only boats that respond appropriately stay in the game. All others are grounded. And that's what we're doing now is we're responding appropriately. But, you know, I always, when I talk to leaders, it's super easy to lead when tide's high. Like if you're a ship captain and the tide's high, there's nothing to run into. You can literally just like put it on cruise control and go because you ain't going to hit anything. But when that tide goes down, then it takes skill of navigating and getting around. And that's what we're in now. We've had a high tide. I mean, you can always look at the real estate market agent count wise total, and it'll tell you how good real estate is because the more agents that are in there means there's a bigger supply of cash. When that shrinks, then of course agents shrink. And we just want to make sure that we're doing the activities that's going to lead us regardless of the tide. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Perfect. What other questions? What else have you taken away? Better make something up, group.
Well, I was listening to Josh Team with Brad Inman, and he was really talking about how technology is going to really advance from this.
Well, you think about it. How many of us have used Zoom on a daily basis before 2 weeks ago?
Nobody. I didn't even know it existed until 2 weeks ago.
There you go.
We did.
Well, and here's the thing, guys. I mean, it's being, and I say forced in a good way. I mean, technology's there. If we're not diving into commands yet, this is a time to go get it. You know, this is what one of my mentors told me, and I thought it was so perfect. He said, Scott, the first thing we're going to have to do is get urgency. So as real estate agents, if you have any deals that are under contract right now, your number one thing is to bulletproof those and get those closed. Period. Then we're going to settle in and we're going to learn to grow our skill, which means we're going to have to learn better skills on Zoom. We're going to have to learn scripts for the moment. We're going to have to go through and do the things that we talked about. And in the end, if we do those two things, the third part of this is we will absolutely thrive when the market comes back. You know, this is priming the pump for the bounce. But it's got to be followed that way. If you got something under contract, number one thing, bulletproof that thing to get it closed now. And then get in. I mean, be ready to grow, learn to be purposeful instead of entrepreneurial about what you're doing, about the way you're spending money, you know, about the way that we think. And you know what the difference between those two are? Entrepreneurially, you only do what you're comfortable doing. Purposeful is you do what needs to be done in the way that it needs to be done. Like, I don't know about you, for some of you, Zoom might not be comfortable. And yet you're being purposeful about getting on it and getting better at it, yes?
Yes.
Because it's going to be a tool that we're going to use. And it's an amazing tool. I don't know hardly any of y'all, like personally. And yet because I can see you and communicate with you and see your facial expressions and see you smiling, at least I tell myself that you're smiling, then I'm able to communicate with you and we'll actually have better relationship than if we were on the phone. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
What else? Give me a question.
When you say one of your bullet points was to pay attention to the market, Scott.
Sure.
Yeah. Specifically, what do you mean? I mean, obviously we pay attention to the market every day, but do you think we should be looking at how things change from week to week, or?
Well, yeah. Well, think about this. Let's say that a buyer calls you, or you reach out to somebody and they said, hey, we're really still wanting to move in April or May. What's with the market? Well, can we go in and say, well, let me just tell you, in the yesterday, so many homes closed, so many homes got listed, so many went under contract. Do we
weekly,
really
daily?
I'm sorry?
The weekly, daily.
Yeah,
monthly.
yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, last week this happened. We want to get it as close to now. I can't use like in February because that's irrelevant to where we are now. But if you start, if you go onto your MLS and look and say how many homes were listed yesterday, I think you'd be shocked about how many homes were listed. So there's people still out there listing homes and having buyers buy homes. Properties are still closing. And that's what we need our buyers to know. And it really does come down to being that local agent of choice. When we know the market, and again, to me, it's like with anything in this time, we're going to have to be at top of our game to have the impact. And yet once we know that, we can talk very real with them. And I think that's what people are looking for now as professionals. They're looking for confidence, and they're looking for people who are expert in what they do. So that not only does that mean, you know, knowing your market, it's knowing how we're going to communicate in this market. I was just on a Zoom call in South Florida, and they've got some really strict guidelines around how they can show property, and they can't do walkthroughs anymore before closing. And so they're looking at how they're going to do those virtually. They're talking about pulling people out of the house and having to clean the house, have them do the walkthrough by themselves, clean the house, and then have the owners go back in. So it's truly understanding and continuing to pay attention so that we can help our people still sell and buy homes. That's really paying attention to the market. It's not just what's selling and what's buying and price. And you're going to start to see this. How many of you feel the pain already of this shift?
I do.
Okay. Well, some people have, and yet if you really look around the country, you know, we've had a lot of closings that have happened in March. I mean, you know, everybody kind of moved their April up, but just imagine this going out for 30 more days or 60 more days or 90 more days. We're going to have the mindset to be committed to doing the activities on a daily basis. And like anything, once we do those activities and stay engaged with our market, be the expert, we'll get what's there now, and you are really building the muscle for success afterwards. Does that help?
Definitely.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Any other questions? Okay. I want to share one more thing with you that I thought was that was pretty powerful. And then I'm going to get your takeaways, and then I'm going to let you off the call so you can go do some real estate business. Okay. You know, Gary used to talk about, and I don't know the quote per se. I'm just going to summarize it for you. He has this poster, and it talks about the giraffe and the lion. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Gary always talks, he has this posted, and he's had it at Mega Camp Family Reunion in his office, and it says, every day in Africa, there's a lion that gets up, and the lion knows that it has to run as fast as the slowest giraffe, or maybe it's an elk. Let's not say giraffe. What's the thing? Antelope. He has to run as fast as the slowest antelope to survive. Okay. And in Africa, there's an antelope who wakes up every single morning and says that I've got to outrun the fastest lion in order to survive. And at the end of the poem there, it says, regardless if you're a lion or an antelope, you've got to get up and run. I mean, you've got to get up and run. And to me, that's exactly what this market, and truly every market, the mindset should be every day to get up and run. It is real easy to get, I always look outside and say this weird feeling, because it's not normal right now that we're off, that we're going to, you know, watch some TV and do some house projects and all of those things. And I'm not saying those are bad things, but everything we've talked about today didn't say it was going to be less effort. You're going to have to get up and run tomorrow, and you're going to have to run on Thursday, and you're going to have to run Friday, and you might have to run Saturday, and you might have to run Sunday. But every day, whether you're the lion or the antelope, we've got to run. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's share a couple of takeaways, and then Tabby, I'll get y'all off the call. 2 takeaways.
Lower your expenses.
Yeah, lower. Hey, and here's the thing I always tell myself is, and I write this on my paper, I write have fun at the top of it, because it's not fun. It's really not. It's embarrassing sometimes when you see where your money's going. And it's a great exercise. And here's the thing, do it every month. Okay? Because you're going to get better at it. With any skill, the more time, when you change your thinking around it, your skill will improve as you put time into it. That's the cool thing. 90 days from now, you've already cut your expenses 3 straight months. The next time you'll still be able to cut them because your skills improved at it. That's what's really cool, Barbara. What else?
Run.
I don't know who said that, but you're right. Run.
Like an antelope.
Run like a lion or I mean, either way, you got to run. And that's the opportunity too. guys, you know, the cause of this is horrific. It really is. The opportunity coming out of it is going to be massive. It always is. Again, the greatest wealth in our country exchanges hands in shifting markets. What we choose to do today is either going to require us to write checks or receive checks when this is over. Make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. So tell me real quickly, did you get value out of this?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Perfect. Did you have some fun?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Am I pretty?
No.
That's okay. I know I'm not. So Tabby, that's all I really have. I truly hope you guys got value out of it. I appreciate you being on. Let me give you my number. If you have any questions or anything you want to talk about real estate, please reach out to me. This is what I do. I love this company in real estate. I'm a real estate agent. My cell phone number is 956-222-9089. If I don't answer, I will always call you back. I just, I'm here for you guys. Whatever I can do to help, I want to be a part of that. Barbara, did you ask me something?
I just wanted, where do you live?
I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville. Okay.
Yeah, that's a Texas number though. I own market centers down in South Texas.
I knew you had a Southern accent, so I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
I'm from Alabama originally. Y'all probably, if you're a Tennessee fan, you know us well.
That's, yeah. That's too bad.
We're winners. So listen, I appreciate you guys. Tabby, thank you so much for the time. Please reach out to me if I can help in any way, okay?
We appreciate you, Scott. Go ahead.
Yep, y'all have a great one. Thank you.
Thank you
Make it a
so
great
much.
day.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.